All right. In this video, I wanted to talk about how the bankruptcy and subsequent dissolution of the Sonder Hotel Company has affected my travel plans. So this video is completely unscripted, unedited, everything. I'm just recording this as a Zoom video because I'm in my dorm room. It's just the easiest way to do that. And so I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about at the end of the video how much money I ended up losing through this. I did lose money, but I will talk about it at the end after I tell the whole story. Um, so I booked a trip last month to Minneapolis, and I was due to take that trip in February over a long weekend. And so that trip I really wanted to take. I was like, I've never been to the Twin Cities before. I always wanted to go. I have lots of friends in the Twin Cities who I want to visit. So it was going to be great. I was looking forward to taking this trip over this long weekend. It was going to be 3 days. I would fly in midday on Thursday and fly out midday on Sunday. So three full days in Minneapolis. And so I booked a Sonder hotel. Now, if you don't know anything about Sonder, they were a company that sort of provided these really nice and fairly affordable sort of apartment style accommodations. So I was like, this is really great. It had good reviews, everything. It was wonderful. And so they this weekend, very surprisingly, went out of business. And if you wanted to, sort of look more into that yourself, you can look more into that yourself. I'm not going to talk about all of that because that's already available for you to look at. I want to talk about how that affected me. So if you need to be filled in, I look around the news for that. So anyway, Sonder went out of business. I got an email over the weekend that they had gone out of business. They suggested that for a refund, I call a third-party travel agency since I booked through Expedia. So they weren't going to be the ones handling the refund. Expedia would be the ones handling the refund, which is typical, booking through a travel agency. And so I called Expedia immediately. Thanks for their 24-hour customer service. That was really great. And I said, Sonder went out of business. I gave them my reservation number. Sonder went out of business. Can I get a refund? And they said, yes, even though it was a non-refundable property, I still wanted to get a full refund, obviously, because Sonder went out of business. That was something completely out of my control. They ended up refunding most of the cost, and so I ended up getting that refund. Again, I will go through the whole cost situation after I'm done explaining the whole story. Then I was like, well, I'm going to have to find another hotel. Now, the two sorts of pickles, sticky situations I was in was that number one, I wanted to find a fully refundable hotel as an alternate booking. Secondly, I currently am not 21 years old yet. I'm almost 21, but I'm not quite 21. And that trip falls just a couple of weeks before my 21st birthday. And so most of the properties in the Minneapolis area are 21 and up properties, which is quite interesting because that's not the case everywhere. Most places are 18 and up. But yes, in Minneapolis, 21 and up for the most part. So I had to find a property that met those two conditions. It was fully refundable and it was, an 18 and up property since I'm not quite 21 yet. So I found this Hilton, and it was one of maybe 4 or 5 properties, and it was the cheapest of them all. And this is where I will start to get into the cost. It cost $400 to book the Hilton for 3 nights. $400, which in retrospect, isn't actually that bad. It's reasonable, $400 for 3 nights, especially a nice hotel like the Hilton. And so I booked that Hilton actually this morning. I was like, because that by that time I had gotten the refund from Sonder, refund through Expedia for the Sonder that never happened. And so I ended up getting that refund. I booked the Hilton, and not long after I booked the Hilton, I realized, what did I just do? I mean, that was a total waste of money. So the Hilton cost $400, and it was more than double the refund that I got from Sonder. So this whole thing, I was just like, this is not worth it. I'm spending way too much money. I was uncomfortable spending that much money on this trip. I was like, this is way too much money that I'm spending on this trip. And so I called Expedia within an hour of booking, said, could you cancel this Hilton? And thank all deities high and holy that that Hilton was refundable, because I have just seen a $400 refund on my credit card. So that Hilton is fully refunded to me, thankfully. If it was not refundable, I would have kept the trip. But basically, what I found through this experience is that rebooking is not always worth the money. Sometimes canceling is like more, a better option, than spending a whole bunch of money to rebook. So now I'm getting into the cost breakdown of this whole thing. So the package, I booked the trip as a package, which I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video. I realized a package is where you can bundle a flight and a hotel, and it's just far enough that I want to fly. And so the flight costs $200 and the hotel costs $250. And so it was sort of all bundled together, but they showed me a breakdown of the cost when I booked it. The flight was $200, Sonder was $250. And Sonder was the initial hotel that went out of business in the last week. So that's how much the initial trip cost me, about $450. I was like, that's reasonable for 3 nights, especially bundling a flight and a hotel. Sonder refunded me $200 of those $250, so not quite a full refund, almost a full refund, but not quite, missing $50. The flights, since I booked in Delta's basic economy fare, because I was not expecting anything to go wrong, lesson learned there, was a non-refundable ticket. In the future, I will always be booking refundable, or at least refundable to travel credit airline tickets, because I've lost all that money, which was also $200. So to break this all down, the flight costs $200, non-refundable. So that $200 is gone. However, again, for me personally, for my own budget, I found it more worth it to lose $200 totally, than to spend an extra $200 to rebook at the Hilton. So with rebooking at the Hilton, I don't know what's wrong with this light. This is really bad. Sorry, I just noticed that. With rebooking at the Hilton, it costs $600. So I hope you're starting to kind of get sort of the cost of this whole thing. Package $450, flight and hotel $450. Sonder refunded $200, so now I'm back at $250, but Hilton was $400, so $650 out of my own pocket for this 3-day trip. Not worth it, in my own opinion. If for everybody else's budget, that is different. I'm not trying to decide for you if that is worth it for you, but that was what was, best for me, was to just cancel the whole trip, get $400 of the $600 back, well, $450 of the $600 back, and lose $200. I'm fine losing $200. I mean, it's a done deal now. I've canceled the trip. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate I've lost $200 from non-refundable airfares. But I was so uncomfortable spending $650 on this 3-day trip. I would rather get some of that back, which I did. So that is what happened to me in the dissolution and bankruptcy of the Sonder Hotel Company. Completely unexpected. Of course, I feel very bad for all of the employees who have just lost their jobs. Thousands of employees who lost their jobs over the weekend because of this unfortunate occurrence. So, anyway, have you been affected by this Sonder debacle? Let me know down in the comments. If you lost money, how much money did you lose? Um, and let me know if you have any questions. Speaking of travel things, I have a very interesting 500 subscriber video that I'm planning. Thank you all, by the way, for 500 subscribers. I've had this channel going for several years now, and we finally made it, one little milestone. I know 500 is really nothing compared to some other channels, but we did that. So thank you all so much. I have a very interesting 500 subscriber video that I'm going to be working on, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, provided the same thing doesn't happen here than what happened in my Sonder experience. So we'll see. So with that, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video, please subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next one.